Imagine a courtroom falling silent not for a headline case, but for an iPhone ringing at the worst possible moment. The municipal courtroom hums with the soft shuffle of papers and the occasional cough. Traffic tickets, meter violations, red light snaps, routine business. Judge Caprio scans the docket, lifts his eyes, and pauses. A young woman, poised in a tailored suit with diamond studs catching the fluorescence, has her phone to her ear while standing at the bar. Ms. Reynolds, he says evenly, are you on a call in my courtroom? She keeps her gaze on the middle distance. 1 second, please. It's the governor's office. Laughter ripples, thin, nervous. Caprio lets the silence swell until even the cameras from the public seating angle down. In that case, he replies, almost gentle, perhaps we should all wait while the governor disposes of your matter. The phone lowers. Color rises along her neck. She is Olivia Reynolds, 26, the governor's daughter, charged with unpaid parking near a state building. On paper, it's small. In the room, it isn't. This ticket's a mistake, she says, setting the phone face down like a dare. The vehicle is registered to the administration. To the state, Caprio clarifies. Were you conducting state business at a private salon on Atwells Avenue at 3:17 p.m.? Her chin lifts, but the eyes flicker. My schedule isn't the court's concern. It is when the bill reaches the public. A few rows back, a retired couple leans forward, a custodian in a reflective vest crosses his arms. The air tightens. Caprio's tone never shifts, the weight comes from the space he leaves between words. You understand, he continues, this is not a press room. No one here answers to your father's calendar. Olivia exhales, practiced composure thinning. I'm a staffer in his office. Things move quickly. In this room, he says, they move at the speed of respect. He taps the file with one finger, paper, not power. You've told me the car is governmental. You've not told me why a public vehicle sat in a no-parking zone for 41 minutes, hazard lights on, while you were inside a private business. Silence. The bailiff's shoes whisper against terrazzo, a camera phone dims. Caprio nods once, decisively. Put the phone away, Ms. Reynolds. This court is not your father's switchboard. It is where people learn, some for the first time, that rules are not rented by the hour. Her mouth firms, but there's a shine in her eyes, anger edged with something like shame. Around her, the ordinary sounds return, paper being folded, a pen cap clicked, a slow breath drawn by someone who's seen enough to know when a line has been crossed. Let's begin, the judge says, voice low, unhurried, final. Start with your name, and this time, make it your own. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You never really know whose shadow stands behind a famous name. Judge Caprio sits forward, elbows on the bench, his tone gentler now. Ms. Reynolds, tell me, what is it you do for the governor's office? Olivia folds her hands, eyes steady but guarded. I assist with communications. Communications for your father? Yes, sir. That must be demanding. A pause. I'm used to demanding. The audience chuckles faintly, unsure whether it's arrogance or exhaustion. Caprio studies her a moment longer. Beneath the polish, something frayed. She grew up in the governor's mansion, where breakfast came with briefings, and birthdays meant photo ops. A childhood of pressed suits, scheduled smiles, and the constant warning, don't give anyone a reason to doubt you. By 12, she was on stage beside her father at rallies, smiling on command. By 16, she'd learned to keep tears private. By 20, she'd stopped crying at all. Caprio flips through the citation. You seem capable, Ms. Reynolds. Tell me, why didn't you just pay the fine and move on? Her answer is quiet. Because paying means admitting fault. And my father doesn't tolerate weakness. The judge leans back. Is it weakness to accept a mistake? For him. Yes. For me, her voice falters, I'm not sure. The courtroom softens. People lean closer, sensing the shift. She's not the untouchable politician's daughter anymore, she's a young woman cornered by the life built for her. Caprio lowers his voice. Were you on official duty when this happened? No, sir. I was visiting someone. He waits. She looks away. My mother. She's in the hospital. I didn't want the press to find out. The room stills completely. Even the clerk hesitates with her pen midair. So you parked illegally, Caprio says slowly, because you were trying to see your mother. Olivia nods once, a fragile motion. I got the call during a meeting. They said she was having a bad reaction to treatment. I wasn't thinking about signs. Yet you told the officer it was an administrative vehicle on state business. Because that's what my father would have wanted me to say. The judge sighs. Your father seems to occupy a lot of your sentences. Her eyes lift sharply. He occupies everything. A long pause follows. You can feel the crowd's empathy turning. It's no longer about entitlement, it's about the quiet suffocation of living under perfection. Caprio folds his hands. Ms. Reynolds, you remind me of something my father once told me. He said, some people live so close to power they forget what honesty feels like. You look like someone who remembers but is afraid of what it costs. Olivia breathes in shakily, whispering, you think I don't know that? Every time I speak, it's his voice I hear correcting me. The judge nods slowly. That's a heavy echo to live with. For the first time, her composure cracks. Her shoulders drop. He thinks respect comes from fear. But all it gives is silence. Caprio leans forward, his tone kind but firm. Then maybe it's time someone in your family learns what real respect sounds like. Her lips press together, half defiance, half relief. The crowd senses something shifting between them, authority meeting truth, not as enemies, but as equals for the first time. The judge closes the file gently. You know, Ms. Reynolds, sometimes the strongest people aren't the ones who win arguments. They're the ones who stop pretending. She meets his eyes, and for a moment, the mask is gone. What's left is raw, fear, fatigue, a trace of courage. Caprio glances at the clock. Court will recess for 10 minutes. As people rise, he adds softly, almost to himself, the law can't fix loneliness. But it can give it a place to speak. Olivia stands still, her phone silent in her hand. Outside, flashes wait. But for the first time, she doesn't reach for them. Because for the first time in her life, someone wasn't afraid to say no, and didn't do it to break her, but to see if she could stand on her own. Sometimes a small case isn't a mistake, it's a loose thread that unravels everything. The morning light filters through the courtroom blinds, cutting pale stripes across the desk. Judge Caprio sits quietly as the clerk lays out a fresh folder, Olivia Reynolds' file. It looks ordinary, unpaid parking, minor speeding, administrative fines. But the judge's instinct tells him it isn't. He's seen too many small mistakes that led somewhere darker. He flips a page and stops. Each citation lists the same payer, Office of the Governor, miscellaneous, public expenses. Caprio frowns. Ms. Reynolds, he begins slowly, do you know who paid your last 3 fines? She blinks. They were handled through the office. Standard procedure, I think. Standard procedure, he repeats, his tone flattening. For the taxpayers to cover your personal violations. The room shifts. Chairs creak. The tension crawls under the walls like heat. Olivia's voice trembles slightly. It must have been an accounting mistake. He passes the file to his clerk. Can you confirm how many such mistakes exist in the last 2 years? A few keystrokes later, click, pause. The clerk looks up. 37, Your Honor. All processed through the same authorization code. A murmur rolls through the gallery. Someone whispers, 37. Caprio waits until silence returns. His voice remains calm, but the edge is unmistakable. Ms. Reynolds, I'm beginning to think this ticket isn't about a parking space. It's about a pattern. She exhales slowly, her confidence unraveling thread by thread. If I say anything, it'll destroy my father's office. Or save it, Caprio counters. Her eyes dart to the audience, reporters, city workers, retirees. Every face feels like judgment. You don't understand, she says, voice cracking. The system isn't built for truth. It's built to survive it. Caprio studies her in silence. Then, softly, you sound like someone who's been surviving too long. The court officer walks in with a sealed envelope. He hands it to the judge. Came through interoffice mail. No sender. Caprio opens it. Inside, an internal memo signed by the deputy treasurer, confirming reimbursement of multiple personal penalties from the governor's discretionary fund. The note ends with one line, authorized by O. Reynolds for expedited processing. Caprio looks up. You signed this. Olivia's breath catches. I didn't know what I was signing. They just told me it was a routine expense form. And you never questioned it? Her jaw tightens. You don't question things when your family's name is on the building. The audience murmurs again. The clerk whispers, Sir, this could be state-level misconduct. Caprio nods faintly. Yes. But right now, it's still human. He looks at Olivia, she's pale now, frozen between shame and relief. Tell me the truth, Ms. Reynolds. Are you being forced to take responsibility for something you didn't do? She hesitates, glances at the door, as if expecting it to open. If I answer that, she whispers, someone will lose everything. Someone already is, he replies. The clock ticks loud enough to feel like footsteps. Finally, she speaks. I was told to handle the payments quietly. That it would be bad for the administration if my father's name appeared anywhere. I didn't realize they used public funds. Caprio's expression doesn't change, but the air in the room does, like a storm tightening. And who gave that order? She swallows. Deputy Chief of Staff. But it always came from him, from my father. The judge's hands fold slowly atop the bench. Then it seems, Ms. Reynolds, you've been asked to carry a burden that doesn't belong to you. Her shoulders slump, the mask is gone. You think telling the truth will fix anything? It'll just end my life as I know it. He leans forward, voice steady. Maybe that's the point. To start living one that's actually yours. Silence thickens. Every face in the courtroom mirrors the same realization, that this isn't about fines or signatures. It's about what happens when privilege eats away at integrity until only fear remains. Caprio sets the folder aside, his decision not yet spoken but already felt. We'll recess until I can verify these records. I suspect the law isn't the only thing that's been broken here. As the gavel strikes, the sound echoes longer than it should. Olivia doesn't move. Because deep down, she knows, the real judgment has already begun, and it isn't the court's. It's her own. There are moments when even silence speaks louder than any defense. The courtroom feels colder after the recess. The hum of whispered conversations dies as Judge Caprio returns to the bench. Olivia Reynolds is already seated, pale, composed, but her sleepless eyes betray her. Beside her sits a man in a dark suit, polished and severe. The governor's legal advisor. His posture alone shifts the energy in the room, the air grows tight, like something invisible just drew a line across the floor. Caprio adjusts his glasses. Ms. Reynolds, do you understand that concealing misuse of public funds isn't merely an administrative lapse? Her hands tighten in her lap. Yes, Your Honor. The advisor clears his throat, but Caprio's gaze freezes him mid-motion. Good, the judge continues. Because at this point, honesty isn't about politics, it's about survival. Olivia's lips tremble. She looks at the advisor, then at the judge as though deciding which world to stand in. Then, suddenly, she unclips her microphone, rises, and steps closer to the bench. Her voice is low. If I tell you everything, they'll ruin me. Not just my job, my life. Caprio meets her eyes calmly. Then say it so everyone can hear you. If the truth is dangerous, let it be dangerous out loud. The advisor shifts, ready to object, but Olivia speaks before he can. The money, the transfers, they weren't clerical errors. My father used state funds for private purposes. I signed the authorizations, dozens of them, without reading. He told me they were legitimate reimbursements. The room explodes in murmurs. Reporters reach for recorders. The advisor shoots to his feet. This is outrageous. The judge has no authority to entertain. Caprio turns toward him, voice like a blade. Sit down. In this courtroom, the law is not a servant to power. Everyone here has the right to truth, even when it hurts more than punishment. The advisor hesitates, then slowly sits. The sound of his chair scraping the floor feels like defeat. Olivia's breathing is unsteady. You think I didn't know? I knew something was wrong. But when your whole life depends on keeping quiet, silence starts to feel like duty. Caprio softens. No, Ms. Reynolds. Silence is easy. Duty is what you're doing now. The words hang in the air. Someone in the gallery murmurs, she's brave. Another whispers, she's betraying him. The judge remains still. What you've done today, most never would. You chose conscience over comfort. Olivia's tears slip down before she can stop them. For the first time, they don't look like weakness. Caprio leans forward. You see, this system doesn't collapse from crime, it collapses from indifference. People look away, they excuse, they adapt. Until one person finally refuses. The advisor interrupts again, his voice sharp, this is political persecution. The governor's office will. Caprio's gavel strikes once, clean and final. Enough. If the governor wants to speak, he can do so under oath. The courtroom falls silent. Every eye is on Olivia, standing there, trembling but unbroken. She looks younger now, freer in a strange way. Caprio's tone softens to almost a whisper. I don't punish mistakes, Ms. Reynolds. I punish the indifference that makes them possible. Her shoulders shake once. A single tear lands on the wood rail of the witness stand. For a long moment, no one moves. Even the cameras seem unsure whether to record or bow their heads. Then Caprio closes his file. This court will reconvene tomorrow. Between now and then, I suggest every official involved reflect on whether their silence helped or harmed. As he rises, the advisor looks away, his confidence leaking out like air from a punctured tire. Olivia sits back down, hands clasped tight, eyes unfocused, but for the first time, she looks lighter. The truth has cost her everything. And yet, for the first time in her life, she owns it. When the gavel falls again, the echo isn't just judgment. It's liberation. When the truth begins to speak, even the documents start to scream. The next morning, the courthouse hums with tension long before the hearing begins. Reporters crowd the steps, lenses flashing like restless lightning. Inside, Judge Caprio sits at his bench, reviewing an unmarked envelope that had arrived at dawn. No sender. No note. Only a neat stack of papers inside, bank transfers, government seals, familiar signatures. He reads each page slowly. Every line is a confession written in numbers. Funds rerouted from the governor's discretionary account into shell corporations, companies registered under fake addresses, tied to private estates and campaign donors. One of the accounts bears a name he already knows, O. Reynolds. When the door opens, Olivia walks in. No advisor today. No entourage. Just her. She looks like someone who's aged a decade overnight, but there's a quiet strength in her walk, a decision already made. Caprio nods once. Ms. Reynolds. Please take your seat. The courtroom settles. He lifts the envelope. This arrived this morning. It confirms what you told us yesterday, and more. These funds didn't vanish. They were redirected through entities owned by the governor's associates. Some even list your name as an executive officer. Olivia's hands tremble. I didn't know that. He studies her face. You didn't authorize this. I signed things I didn't understand. My father said they were campaign reimbursements. And you believed him. She looks down. He's my father. Believing him was my first mistake. The murmur in the gallery swells again. Journalists scribble. Someone gasps when the judge reads aloud one of the company names, Raydev Solutions, LLC, registered under Olivia's personal address. Caprio continues, voice level. One of these companies received nearly $500,000 within 6 months. Tell me, Ms. Reynolds, did you ever see that money? No, sir. Did you benefit from it? No. I didn't even know it existed. Her honesty cuts through the air like a wire drawn tight. The court officer hands the judge another folder, emails between the governor's staff and local contractors. Caprio schemes them. Every message reads the same way, short, coded, deliberate. Phrases like, move funds under community initiative and use O.R. authorization. He looks back at her. Do you understand what these imply? You were the shield. Every illegal payment had your name on it. If this were any other case, you'd be the one facing indictment. Olivia exhales shakily. Maybe I should. No, Caprio replies firmly. You're already standing where most never dare to. You're telling the truth. For a moment, the judge pauses, looking out at the audience. He speaks not to her, but to everyone. The law doesn't protect privilege, it protects responsibility. Somewhere along the way, your father forgot that. But maybe this, he gestures around the courtroom, is where it remembers. The prosecutor in the back row leans forward, whispering to a journalist. Everyone knows what this means, a state investigation. A career ending. Maybe more. Caprio turns back to Olivia. His tone softens again. Tell me, how long have you felt trapped in all this? Her eyes glisten. Since the day he told me my reputation mattered more than my soul. The silence that follows is absolute. No gavel, no paper shuffle, just breath and gravity. Caprio nods once. Then let's begin to repair what's left. He signs an order, a formal request for the state auditor to open a corruption probe. The advisor who sat in court yesterday isn't here to object. No one dares. Caprio closes the file carefully. You've already paid the highest price, Ms. Reynolds, fear. Now you'll pay the right one, dignity. She wipes a tear, not out of weakness but acceptance. The judge stands. This hearing will adjourn until tomorrow. Justice isn't finished here, but for the first time, it has direction. As the crowd disperses, Olivia remains seated. Outside, through the courthouse windows, cameras flash. Somewhere, her father's office burns with phones ringing off the hook. Inside, only the judge's voice lingers, steady, human, defiant. This is not a court of politics. This is where humanity begins again. Sometimes the loudest sound in a courtroom isn't the gavel, it's an apology. The final hearing draws a crowd like no other. The corridor hums with reporters, microphones, and whispers. Inside, every seat is filled. For the first time, the governor himself is absent, but his absence feels heavier than his presence ever could. Olivia Reynolds stands alone at the center of the room. No advisor. No family. Just her and the truth she can't take back. She looks smaller than before, but steadier, like someone who's finally decided not to run. Judge Caprio enters quietly. The noise dies instantly. He doesn't look at the press or the cameras, his eyes go straight to her. Ms. Reynolds, he begins, voice calm but heavy with gravity, this court has heard enough to understand both the wrongdoing and the courage it took to expose it. She nods once, hands clasped in front of her. Before I issue a decision, he says, is there anything you'd like to tell the court? Olivia takes a slow breath. Her voice trembles, but not from fear. My father taught me that our family name stood for strength. That we were above mistakes, above doubt. But strength without honesty is just vanity in armor. She pauses. I helped cover up things I didn't want to see. Because silence was easier than shame. And now I know, they're the same thing. No one moves. Even the clicking of cameras stops. I can't undo what I did, she continues, but I can stop pretending it didn't happen. And maybe that's what real loyalty looks like, not protecting power, but protecting what's right. For a moment, the words hang there, fragile, then powerful. Caprio leans forward, his tone softer than it's ever been. Ms. Reynolds, our laws exist to correct behavior. But justice, true justice, exists to restore humanity. He glances at the file before him, then closes it gently. You are guilty of an administrative violation, but not of moral corruption. The penalty, 50 hours of community service. You'll work directly with local shelters. Learn what it means to serve without reward. Olivia nods, unable to speak. Then the bailiff enters, holding a cream-colored envelope. This arrived for Ms. Reynolds. She opens it with shaking hands. Inside, a handwritten letter. She reads silently, lips parting as she reaches the end. The judge notices her expression. It's from my mother, she whispers. She wrote it before her surgery. She reads aloud. Don't let the world decide who you are. Be the person who can sleep at night knowing she told the truth. Her voice breaks halfway through, but she finishes it anyway. The courtroom remains utterly still. Caprio lowers his head briefly, then speaks one last time. Ms. Reynolds, today you did what many in power never do, you faced yourself. That's not weakness. That's justice. He strikes the gavel softly. The sound echoes like a heartbeat, final, clean, freeing. Olivia turns, walking toward the exit. Flashbulbs erupt, but she doesn't hide. Outside, the morning light catches her face, tear-streaked, unguarded, real. For the first time, her name doesn't feel like a shield. It feels like her own. Behind her, Caprio's voice lingers in memory. Justice isn't vengeance. It's the courage to begin again. And somewhere, in the silence that follows, an entire city exhales.